My best friend betrayed me, so I decided to reveal the truth to her boyfriend. I'm a 22-year-old woman, and recently, my life has been in turmoil because of my friend Richie, also 22. Richie and I have been inseparable since childhood, growing up in the same neighborhood, attending the same school, and hanging out with the same group of friends. We drifted apart for a few years when I moved to a dorm for college, while Richie stayed at home, attending a college nearby. I pursued a technical course while she followed her passion for the arts. Despite the distance, our bond remained strong. Whenever I visited home during vacations, we would pick up right where we left off, enjoying each other's company as if no time had passed. About 5 or 6 months ago, I moved back to my hometown after securing a job here. I stayed with my parents for a few months before renting an apartment last month. Since moving back, I noticed a significant change in Richie. Initially, she seemed fine, but once I started working and hanging out with my colleagues, her behavior became strange. It took me some time to figure out what was going on, but I eventually realized she might be feeling left behind. I didn't come to this conclusion on my own. One night, while we were drunk, she confided in me, lamenting her decision not to choose a different career path and expressing that she felt stuck. I comforted her, telling her that a paycheck isn't everything and that work satisfaction is what truly matters. Richie has a talent for photography, a field with a lot of demand, but I couldn't understand why she felt so left behind. I encouraged her to take her career seriously and seek out assignments, but she never seemed enthusiastic about her work. She didn't make any effort to find jobs or even part-time gigs. After that night, I became cautious about discussing my work benefits and perks with her, hoping to avoid hurting her feelings, but it seemed to backfire. My company sponsors a monthly team lunch, and you know how these corporate events go. They're usually held at top restaurants with lavish buffets and endless drinks. For someone not accustomed to a corporate environment, this can be pretty overwhelming. I didn't mention this to Richie. I figured it might come across as bragging. For the first couple of months, I didn't post any photos on social media, so she wasn't aware of it. But on the third month, a colleague tagged me in a post, and that's when Richie saw it. Curiously, she visited my colleague's social media page and found photos from the previous lunches. Instead of confronting me directly, Richie started making snide comments the next time we met, along with our other friends. She made sarcastic remarks, implying that I wouldn't enjoy a small cafe now that I was frequenting 5-star, premium places. I was confused by her comments, so I asked her what she meant. She just winked and brushed off my question, and that moment marked the beginning of her strange behavior toward me. After that, she seemed to dislike my pictures with my colleagues on social media. Whenever I asked her if everything was okay between us, she would just shrug and say, "Yes, what happened?" I pointed out that she hadn't liked or commented on any of my photos. She told me, "Oh, you didn't look good in those pictures," so I didn't react. It was humiliating and hurtful, but I decided to let it go. "We used to be the first ones to like and comment on each other's posts," she added. "Yeah, time changes, people change." I was puzzled by her words, but as usual, she dodged my question. Recently, I noticed she was posting pictures of her hangouts with other friends. At first, I didn't mind, but now it's clear that she's trying to make me jealous. The captions like BFF and true friends seemed like loud declarations that I was no longer her friend and that she had moved on. If that wasn't enough, I heard from our mutual friends that Richie had been badmouthing me. She's been telling people that I look down on her, keep secrets, and that we aren't as close as we used to be. She even told someone that I had become arrogant because of my salary and was throwing my weight around. That's absolutely not true. I still consider her my best friend and have no one closer to me. I want to confront her about all this, but I know she'll either dodge the issue or respond with more sarcasm. Yesterday, my mom asked if I had a fight with Richie. I said, no. She told me that Richie had been ignoring her in public places. She used to greet my mom and dad whenever she saw them, but now she just avoids them. Her mom is doing the same with my mom. I decided to tell my mom about everything that's been happening. She suggested that maybe Richie is feeling insecure about my new friends and that's why she's acting this way. She advised me to give Richie some time rather than confront her, as any conversation now might just lead to a fight. I think my mom is right. I'm still angry about Richie's behavior, and I might not be able to control my emotions. So it might be better to let things cool off before discussing it with her. Maybe she will return to normal with some time. Update 1. Richie is just getting worse. I would never have used this word lightly until she crossed a line. Recently, a new manager joined our team. He doesn't work on our team but leads a different one. They just happen to operate on the same floor. His desk is across from mine but quite a distance away. He's young and very handsome. I wouldn't say I was interested in him, but I mentioned this casually to one of my female work friends and she shared a similar sentiment. We both chatted about his charm and were just having a lighthearted moment. This was a completely normal and light-hearted conversation. We weren't hitting on him or anything. The next day, during lunch break, my friend brought up the topic of the handsome manager again, commenting on how he looked stunning in my black outfit. I joined in and we both appreciated his looks. Suddenly, one of my male colleagues, let's call him Jill, chimed in with a hint. We were talking about sexual orientation during our break, and when it was my turn, I mentioned I had never explored anything beyond being straight. Jill looked surprised and pressed further, asking if I had ever kissed a woman. I said no, and he responded, I don't believe it. Not even a lip lock. That was a clear indication of where he was headed. I remembered a time in high school when I got extremely drunk at a farewell party and kissed another girl, but that was the extent of it. Richie was the only one who knew about this, besides the girl involved. This was enough for me to suspect something. I wanted to find out if Jill or Richie were behind this, so instead of confronting them directly, I decided to investigate. I checked Richie's social media profile and noticed that Jill was on her friends list. Digging deeper, I found that they were indeed connected. They were tagging each other in posts and commenting on each other's pictures. It became clear to me that Richie was the one leaking my secrets to my colleague. The next weekend, I went to Richie's house. Her mom greeted me with a cold smile, which was very unusual. When I entered her room, Richie seemed surprised. I asked her what was going on. She replied, "No, now that you're part of the elite class, how gracious of you to bless us with your presence." This is how she talks to me now. I responded, "Why not? If you're busy leaking my secrets to my colleagues, I can certainly do you some favors." Her face flushed with anger. She claimed I was accusing her. I told her she was the one who had been sharing my secrets with Jill, secrets that no one else knew but her. She denied it, and I expected her to. She lacks the courage to admit what she's done. Still, I wanted her to know that I was aware of her actions. I was there for a confrontation, but she was ready for a fight. It seemed like she had been building up her anger, and it all came out that day. She called me an entitled bitch, arrogant, and more. For a moment, I was shocked at her new demeanor. I told her I should be the one using those terms for her, considering she had been going around bad-mouthing me. I also recounted all the instances when she had bad-mouthed me in front of our other friends. When she couldn't defend herself, she started sobbing, saying I had ruined our friendship. I pointed out that I had moved on in life, made new friends, and distanced myself from her. I explained that I hadn't told her about the corporate lunches because I thought it might hurt her. She took it the wrong way, accusing me of flaunting my success to make her jealous and insecure. Realizing that talking to her was futile and that she wasn't going to understand, I knew our friendship was over and there was no point in trying to fix it. I told her this and quickly left her house. As I was leaving, I noticed her mom sitting in the living room, clearly listening to our conversation. She must have heard us yelling at each other, but she didn't intervene. Even when she saw me leaving in tears and anger, she didn't say anything. If this had happened at my house, I'm sure my mom would have stepped in to try to calm things down. After that, I went to my mom and told her everything. She asked if she could talk to Richie about it, but I said no. Our friendship is over now. If she's only interested in destroying it, I'm not interested in trying to salvage it. I regret tolerating her for so long and being so considerate of her feelings. Now I don't care what she thinks or says about me. Update 2. It's been a while since my last post and not much happened until recently. I was caught up with my project release, which had me buried in work. Also, I've put Jill in his place after my confrontation with Richie. There was another incident where Jill tried to bring up my secret, which she learned from Richie. I called him out in front of everyone, telling him I knew where he was getting my secrets from. I told him that if he wanted to know more, he should ask me directly instead of going through my school friend. He was embarrassed, clearly not expecting me to respond this way. He thought I would be embarrassed, like I used to be. That was the last time he ever made any comments about me. Some time ago, when I visited home, my cousin was there, and we started chatting. He casually mentioned that he was dating Richie. I was shocked, not because of the relationship itself, but because it was the first time I had heard Richie's name in a while. He asked if I was happy that he was dating my best friend. I replied, "Yeah, I'm so happy." He seemed surprised that Richie hadn't told him about our fight, making it clear that he didn't know we were no longer friends. I tried to steer the conversation to other topics, but he insisted on going into detail about their relationship. Honestly, I wasn't interested. He noticed my disinterest and asked if I wasn't happy about the news. I tried to hide my feelings, but he saw through it, and I ended up telling him the truth. He didn't pick sides, and I didn't want him to. He said he would keep his relationships with both of us separate. I don't know what happened after that, but I suspect he might have asked Richie about our fight, and she might have blown up. She called me out of the blue. I didn't want to talk to her, but I answered, thinking it might be something urgent. As soon as I picked up, she started hurling abuses at me, accusing me of manipulating my cousin against her, calling me jealous, mean, and a bitch. I tried to explain the circumstances in which I had mentioned it to my cousin, but she wouldn't listen. So I hung up on her. She was using me as a punching bag to unleash her frustration, and I was done tolerating it. But she wasn't finished yet. She bombarded my phone with all sorts of vile abuse and threatened to expose my secrets to the world. I told her she could do whatever she wanted because she had already leaked my secrets to my colleague. This time she admitted it, saying, "Yeah, I did that. Your colleague should also know what kind of whore you are." After that, I blocked her, not just her number but also on all social media platforms. She had become so toxic that I couldn't breathe. I wanted to tell my cousin about all this, but getting deeper into the situation would only worsen my mental state. I just want to cut her off completely and avoid any conversation about her. I haven't told my cousin how his new girlfriend has been behaving monstrously towards me. It's probably time he learns her true colors, just like I did. I don't want to be called a relationship wrecker by exposing her truth. Update 3. I turned 24 last week, and with my birthday came a promotion at work that I had been waiting for over the past 2 years. I also received a substantial raise. Now, I don't hesitate to post about my achievements. Before, I was concerned about not hurting Richie, but now I don't care. Whether she or anyone else thinks I'm showing off, I've worked hard for this, and I have every right to celebrate it. Let them call me what they want. I'm moving forward. After my last update, I had almost cut off all my common friends and even my cousin, who was dating Richie. I just didn't want any toxicity in my life. But when I posted about my promotion, my cousin called to congratulate me. Since he's also in a similar field, he asked for details about my project. He then told me he was serious about marrying Richie. He hadn't proposed yet, but he was nearly certain about it. I reacted cheerfully and congratulated him. He mentioned that Richie was the most caring woman he had ever been with and that she was always there for him. I thought to myself, why wouldn't she be? She was jobless and had nothing else to do. I didn't say this to his face, but that was the reality. My cousin works for one of the most reputed ends, is 28, owns a car, and is about to buy his own house. Given his salary, he has substantial savings. What else would a freeloader like Richie want? She still lives with her parents and does nothing but lounge on the couch and hang out with friends. He insisted that I patch up with Richie so that we could all hang out together. I asked him why he didn't ask Richie to make the first move and resolve the conflict. He replied that Richie loves me and misses me, but I've become snappy, so she's reluctant to reach out. I was done listening to my cousin's praises about Richie, so I hung up the call. I didn't tell him about the last fight I had with Richie. Richie was just hiding her true self from my cousin and pretending to be sweet. Almost 2 months later, my cousin called me again. He asked if Richie was dating a guy from our school. I was taken aback by his sudden question. He explained that Richie had told him she was a virgin. I asked him why it mattered. He said it didn't matter, but loyalty and transparency did. Richie had told him that she had never had a boyfriend and had never kissed anyone. This was shocking to me because Richie had dated many guys during high school and college, including the one my cousin was asking about. But I stayed silent. Not only had she kissed several guys, but she had also been intimate with a couple of them. I don't know her current count, as we've been out of contact for the last 2 years, but up until then, it was 3. I think my cousin's past relationship was serious. He was with his classmate for 4 years, but they broke up due to long distance. Richie had been taunting him about that relationship, leaving no opportunity to rub it in his face, especially since his ex-girlfriend dumped him. My cousin tried to explain that everyone has a past, but Richie defended herself by saying she didn't have any. I literally cracked up when he told me this. My cousin said it was crucial for him to know the truth and insisted that I tell him. I told him that his decision shouldn't hinge on this information. The fact that she was being toxic should have been enough to decide. Anyway, I told him the truth, not just about the guy he asked about, but about all the boys Richie had been with in the past. I even had photos of them together in my Google Drive, so I shared those with him. Why not? A few days later, I found some messages in my spam folder from Richie. She was blowing up my phone, saying I had ruined her life and manipulated my cousin. I unblocked her and replied that she had revealed my secrets to my colleague, so I also told the truth to my cousin. She lost her mind and abused me. Her abuse didn't bother me after that because it was just her pain speaking, and it was a delight to see her frustrated and heartbroken. Revenge is oh so sweet. My cousin had already given her a ring, which he took back after the confrontation. He also took back all the expensive gifts he had given her. I heard that during the confrontation he even took her phone because he had gifted it to her. He didn't let her back up the data. I can only imagine how funny that scene must have been. I know my cousin acted immaturely, but I don't feel bad for Richie. She had been pushing him to the extreme, and when he finally snapped, he was out of control. I'm having the last laugh here.